Joining us today on The Blend from Family and Elder Law of Mid-Michigan here in Lansing, Erica Saldivar. She is the Client Services Coordinator there. Erica, you always talk about the importance of estate planning and making sure that everybody plans for their future to ease the stress on families later on. Is there just one thing that's often overlooked when people talk about their estate planning?
Yes, and it's something that's very relevant to a lot of people here in Mid-Michigan, and that's your vacation home up north that you probably just locked up for the winter. What would happen to that property now if something happens to you?
Well, why is that so important?
Well, that's important because you worked really hard for that vacation home. Owning a second home doesn't come easy, so you want to make sure that you have a plan to protect it. Second of all, that's important because this home was meant to be a source of fun and happiness for your family for many years. So you don't want your family to blow apart if something happens to you just because they all had different expectations about what was going to happen to this property if something happens to you. Do you want it to stay in the family? Do you have more than one kid and you want them all to be able to continue to enjoy the property?
Well, how can you leave it to more than one person to share? That's going to be tricky,
right? Yeah, with planning, right? With planning. We can use an LLC or a trust or a combination of both, but with planning now, you can relieve that stress on your family later. You can preserve the tax status of that property. You can also lay out all the rules and expectations for the ongoing maintenance of the property, the cost sharing, the rules for the use of the property. You can also set out the rules and expectations for what would happen if someone wants to sell their share of the property. But without doing any planning, then you're really risking your family not only losing that property, but losing their relationships as well.
Oh, you know, and that is so important. And people think, well, you know, they'll all work it out, but it's such an emotional time when a family member is lost. And if those plans aren't in place and the wishes aren't made clear, somebody might think that mom and dad wanted one thing, but somebody else might think that it's a completely different thing. You know, I was talking to somebody during the early days of the pandemic, and she's like, okay, the estate planning I've been putting off for years. I finally took one afternoon and got all my paperwork together and contacted the attorney. You can contact Family and Elder Law of Mid-Michigan. Erica, thank you so much for coming by today to talk about how important it is and why it's so important to make those plans ahead of time. Any last thoughts before we go about the time that it really takes and the effort it takes on an individual?
Take the time to get educated. That is so important. That's where it all begins. Call our office or visit our website, get the free education that we're going to offer you, and let us help you protect that vacation home that you worked so hard for.
Family and Elder Law of Mid-Michigan. Thank you, Erica. Always good to see you.
Thank you so much.